like 9:30, 9:40.
All right, let's talk about the Cowboys Cardinals game. Dallas at Arizona. So I'm calling an upset on this game. I think the Cardinals are going to win. I know that sounds crazy, but I've seen the Cowboys choke more than once. And they lost to the Commanders last year to rookie Sam Howell. So I wouldn't be surprised if they lose to Josh Dobbs today,
Mm,
especially because Trayvon Diggs is hurt and the Cowboys starting center's hurt too. So the Cowboys always disappoint me, so I wouldn't be surprised if they lost this game.
I completely disagree with that. I don't think. I think last week was a complete fluke for Arizona. I think they beat a Giants team that, frankly, just isn't very good. And I think this is the last week we're going to see the Cowboys defense just completely dominate a team for a little while. I mean, they still have a great defense, but they do have a tougher schedule coming up. And just with the game today, I think they're going to do what they have done the past 2 weeks. They'll continue to do that against Arizona today.
yeah, I think so too. I think Dallas will hold them to a goose egg. Dallas is favored by 13, and that's one of America's favorite bet of the day. So, but they got Tony Pollard, they have CD Lamb, Dak Prescott's determined this year. Um, yeah, so what? Center's out. I'm sure it's not going to change the game. Trayvon Diggs, that's a tough loss, but that defense has a lot of depth. So I'm calling Dallas, 30-0.
So last week I saw Dak Prescott throw a pick six that just got dropped, and I saw the Cowboys Giants game. That first quarter, the Giants were moving down the field easily. Daniel Jones, he was scrambling. He was getting a first down every time he wanted to. They were going to score the first drive, but they ended up kicking a field goal. It got blocked, got taken back for a touchdown. Then the Giants got the ball again. Daniel Jones threw the ball to Saquon Barkley. It bounced off of his shoulder pad, and the Cowboys picked six that, so the game was over. So the Giants never really had an opportunity to make that a game. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, the Cardinals probably are going to lose, but I just wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys blow it. So also, the James Conner, if you have him in fantasy football, you're going to want to start him because I think he's going to have a huge game. James Conner, he's one of those running backs that gets the bulk of the carries. There's not a lot of running backs in the NFL that you can rely on. That is his backfield. There's no third down running back. There's no red zone running back. James Conner is going to get the carries and he's going to get the opportunity. So James Conner is a really good start, in my opinion, too. All right, you guys want to move on to the Bears and Chiefs game?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so you got the Bears at the Chiefs. Another bold prediction for that would be I think Justin Fields is going to light it up today.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I think with the controversy surrounding the entire team, I kind of think they're in shambles right now, especially Justin Fields. I mean, he's currently in a system where they're not catering to his style of play. And so, with that being the case, I just don't really see how he succeeds in that. Now, mind you, I'm not super confident with like the Chiefs' defense at the moment, but I just don't completely see how Justin Fields is expected to succeed in the current environment he's in.
So when I say succeed, I don't mean he's going to beat the Chiefs. I think he's going to succeed for our fantasy teams. I think he's going to scramble a lot. He's going to go back to his old ways of just running the ball. They're not doing any designed runs for Justin Fields. So I think he complained to the coaches, and I think the coaches are going to say, fine, go run. Good luck. So
Gotcha.
he'll have a good fantasy day.
And I think no matter what, it's only for the benefit of fantasy because I don't think there's any way he goes into this game and leads him to some crazy performance that takes him to the win. But yeah, I see the exact opposite where he complained to the coaches, and I don't think it's going to do him any good.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I agree with Danny. I think he's due for a breakout. So um, the way Chicago has been dealing with the issues that they have going on, they're 0-2. They're playing in Arrowhead. They're expecting to lose, but they have to switch something up. They have to go back to Justin Fields' game plan and let him lead the way he did last year. So I'm hoping they have a good game and it's a closer game. Um, and Justin Fields leads the team to a potential win, but who knows? Kansas City didn't play well against Detroit that first week, so they looked real vulnerable out there. I think Chicago will cover the spread at 12.5. For the Chicago's receivers, I'm not a big fan, but for Justin Fields and his legs and fantasy football, I would start him. I have him in my league actually, and I'm going to start him. But I see a lot of upside with Chicago and Justin Fields. With Kansas City, though, their defense is a little banged up. They have a couple linebackers that are out and questionable. Isaiah Pacheco's questionable with that hamstring. Kadarius Toney's coming back from that toe injury. So, their only target right now that I can think of is Travis Kelsey. So and Patrick Mahomes, he's a magician out there, and he can make a lot of things happen with his legs. But I think this is going to be a closer game than people think it's going to be. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a good game.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. Travis Kelsey, he's really the only target. The only other one would be Sky Moore. That might be a good little sleeper pick. I don't know if he's available in your leagues, but you have a roster spot, grab Sky Moore possibly because there's still not a true number one wide receiver. Somebody needs to step up for Mahomes.
Yeah, it's going to be between him, Valdez, Scantling. Can't think of anybody else, but
Yeah, I agree. I really like Sky Moore. I think with the lack of other available targets, I definitely think he'll see increased production this week.
He could be the next Tyreek Hill.
he could. He has the potential to do it, especially with a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, he's going to make a number one wide receiver eventually. And maybe it's that rookie Rashid Rice, maybe. So someone's going to step up for the
Yeah.
Chiefs.
So Sky Moore is rostered in about 36.8% of leagues and is only started in 2.7%.
Yeah, that's a pretty good sleeper right there. He scored a touchdown last week and he had 70 receiving yards. So, all right, do you guys want to move on to the Steelers Raiders game now?
Yeah,
Braden, you have Najee Harris and you have Jalen Warren on your roster. What are you going to do?
I think this is the make or break week for Najee Harris. I'm incredibly concerned about the Steelers in general after these first 2 weeks, but I think if there's a week that they're going to show life and that Najee is going to have a good game, it's going to have to be this week.
Yeah, that's a good opportunity. This is make or break for them. You're right.
With that as well, I would expect Jalen Warren to see a bit of an increased production this week as well. And through the first 3 weeks, every week he's gotten more targets than he has the week before. So I would expect that trend to continue.
I'm worried about Najee Harris. He doesn't look explosive. He's not going to be that guy that just takes it to the house, and then Jalen Warren is that guy. I feel like Jalen Warren's explosive looking.
I don't like the Steelers' offensive depth, period. I stayed away from the running backs. I stayed away from the receivers. One of my rules going into the draft this year was staying away from Steeler players. It's just I don't have enough knowledge on the O-line to know how well Najee did, but just judging Najee and his performance last year, I had him last year in the league, and he didn't do much for me as a starting back, and he was the first back that I drafted. But yeah, I don't see Pittsburgh doing well. By any Pittsburgh players that I do have, they're staying on my bench. I don't like starting. Yeah, I don't like starting any of those players. But Las Vegas, I was really iffy about drafting Devontae Adams if he was available in the first round towards 6 and 12. I ended up I didn't take him actually, but in an auto draft league, he ended up on one of my rosters, and he's been playing solid. As long as he doesn't get hurt, he's been playing solid. Jimmy Garoppolo's been getting him the ball. He's been sharing the ball with Jacoby Myers. Josh Jacobs didn't look good last week either. So I don't know. This is going to be a shootout between Pittsburgh and Las Vegas. The spread on this game is 3 Raiders. So it's a pick 'em because they're giving the 3 points since the Raiders are favorite. So this is going to be a good game. I'm staying away from this game when it comes to gambling just because we don't know who's going to break out. But I would take the under at 43.5 just because I don't like Steelers' offense and I don't like the Raiders' offense either. Their defenses are better than their offense, in my opinion.
Yeah, the only person worth starting on the Steelers would be George Pickens. He's a pretty athletic wide receiver. He had like a 70-yard touchdown last week. George Pickens,
He's really good.
also because Deontay Johnson is out still. So every ball is going to go to George Pickens. Other than that, you got the Steelers tight end, Freiermuth. Tight ends, you just start them. They're all just worthless, basically. Then Raiders, Josh Jacobs. He's had a bad year so far, but he's still 25 years old. He's still a good running back, and he's going to blow up eventually. And he could do it this week easily against the Steelers. So you start Josh Jacobs. And then everyone says Jimmy Garoppolo he has like a weak arm, so he can't throw it deep to Davante Adams. And Davante Adams gets all of his fantasy points by that deep ball when he had Derek Carr. Now, Julian, you as a 49er fan, do you think Jimmy Garoppolo has a good enough arm to get it to Davante Adams? Because I think he does, but we just haven't seen it yet.
I think he does, but the thing is, he doesn't have to throw deep bombs for Davante Adams to get fantasy points. Jimmy Garoppolo specializes more in the middle passes, so throwing it up deep is – if he's open, he's going to do it, but I think it's better off, hitting those slants in the outside and touching Davante Adams and getting him out there. But Davante Adams is also a really good receiver when it comes to yards after catch. And he's targeted in the red zone. So Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr, either way, I think Davante Adams as a receiver is going to get you fantasy points.
Yep. The only other player we haven't mentioned is that rookie tight end on the Raiders. His name's like Malik Davis or something. He hasn't done anything. I was wondering if he was going to, be the next Darren Waller over there, but he hasn't really done anything. So, and I thought Jimmy Garoppolo was going to look for his tight end. So I guess just be on the lookout for him if you're everyone's trying to find a good tight end, but they just don't exist anymore. So now we can move on to the Monday night games. You got the Eagles at the Buccaneers, and I think it's safe to say that DeAndre Swift has officially taken over that backfield, which is pretty exciting because people have been waiting for DeAndre Swift to be fantasy football relevant over the last couple of years because everybody knows he's really talented. He just keeps getting injured, and for some reason he was in the Lions. The coaches hated him on the Lions. That's why they got rid of him, I think. So now he has a chance to become a really good fantasy running back on the Eagles.
Yeah, really like DeAndre Swift. Really showed what he's capable of last week. And I think the tandem of him and Jalen Hurts and their effective offensive line is incredibly dangerous. And yeah, I think he repeats his production from last week, potentially again this week.
Yeah, I think if you have Kenneth Gainwell, you got a wasted roster spot now. It's sad because Kenneth Gainwell, he had a good week 1, but then he injured his ribs, and now DeAndre Swift took over the job. Rashad Penny, he's a pretty good running back, but I don't think he's going to have any opportunities unless DeAndre Swift gets hurt. So DeAndre Swift, he's a good play. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is a good play. A.J. Brown, he's due. He has no touchdowns this year, but we all know he's one of the best receivers in the league. So he's due for a blow-up game. And
I think DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny are going to split reps today. So
interesting.
Boston Scott's out with a concussion. Kenneth Gainwell is going to become the next third string back. So Rashad Penny is only upgrading to second string back behind Boston Scott or behind DeAndre Swift. So I think they're going to protect DeAndre Swift because they showed how valuable he was last game. And split carries, but I feel like they have to get Jalen Hurts going with his receivers. So I wouldn't be surprised if they, pass the ball more than 60% of the time tomorrow.
Yeah, you could do that against the Buccaneers. So that could be a shootout game. And then Baker Mayfield, he's a pretty exciting dude. I'm excited that he took over. He's taking advantage of that opportunity. He has two really good receivers, which throughout his career, he hasn't had, the best roster. I'd say right now, this is a big opportunity for Baker Mayfield, and he's going all in.
I like Baker Mayfield. He's a dog, His I can't remember if it was week 1 or week 2 when I believe it was week 1 against the Vikings when he dived and got that first down, or he lowered that shoulder and got low and took those hits. And rather than sliding or protecting himself like most quarterbacks do, he went out there to put his body on the line and get that first down for his team. So watching him come back as a Tampa Bay player, watching him join Tampa Bay as a first year and seeing what he did the first 2 weeks, I think he's going to have a breakout game this game, especially with Evans and Godwin. Evans looks great out there. He was hurt most of the year last year, so he was kind of inconsistent, but he looks great this year. So I think we should have a really good game between the Eagles and the Bucks.
It's funny how sorry.
I agree with your point about Baker Mayfield. He has that dog in him. He is a competitor. He reminds me of eating that W. Jameis Winston. He has that team first mentality, and he really is all about winning. And coming out of college, he was somebody where it was a huge concern. We may have Johnny Manziel 2.0 here, but I've always had confidence in him. I think the Browns blundered. I think the Rams blundered not keeping him. And I think he's the future of Tampa Bay because he's just a team first guy, and that's a recipe for success right there.
Yeah, a lot of people were down on the Buccaneers before the season started, but look, they're 2-0, and Baker Mayfield is playing better than Tom Brady was. I mean, Tom Brady had a bad year last year. He was really inaccurate. And I heard some crazy stat about how they were horrible on 3rd and 10. Like the Buccaneers could not get a first down last year, but Baker Mayfield, he's got that offense going. Mike Evans is 30 years old, but he's playing lights out. And then it's only a matter of time before Chris Godwin starts getting in the end zone. And I really like the running back, Rachaad White, because he's one of the only running backs also that he that's his backfield. So he's getting all the carries. I love finding running backs that get all the carries. So there's no one behind Rachaad White that's stealing reps from him. So now we pretty much covered, so you got tight end Auden. He's good too, but tight ends are just boring. So now do you guys want to move on to the Rams and Bengals Monday night game?
Yeah, let's do it.
Stafford's a stud. So, I mean, he played the Niners, and he still, was able to throw for over 300 yards. I think he threw like 55 times. He was throwing the whole game. Stafford is available in a lot of people's leagues. I would go pick up Stafford. Julian, don't you have Stafford on one of your teams?
I do have him as my backup.
So now he gets to play the Bengals. So he might throw 3 touchdowns. And that guy, he makes number one wide receivers. He's making Puka Nacua a number one wide receiver. And then even Tutu Atwell, he has like 20 targets this year too. I don't know what they're going to do when Cooper comes back, Cooper Kupp, because he'll be back in week 5. So he'll be back real soon. I don't know how they're going to divide the ball. I mean, Cooper Kupp's probably just going to take everyone's targets like he always does.
Correct. Yeah, they're not going to divide it. When Cooper comes back, the ball's going to Cooper.
Here's the thing with the Rams offense, though. They score majority touchdowns in the run game. So Matthew Stafford is 1-3, so 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions when it comes to the first 2 games of the season. So he's only thrown one touchdown. And then they've ran for 5 rushing touchdowns. So I see a lot of upside with the run game and Kyren Williams. But with the receivers, Nacua, Atwell, and then Cooper Kupp coming back, it's just they're not staying healthy. Nacua has a hamstring injury?
I think his ribs too.
Yeah, he's beat up. Cooper Kupp, here's the thing. I got some insight from a friend of mine. Somebody was trying to make a trade and acquire Cooper Kupp for a certain player. And Cooper Kupp has been trying to find doctors to go ahead and let him play sooner than later. But this injury is pretty major. So there's word out there that he might be out for the season if he doesn't take care of himself or if he comes back too soon. But that's potential risk there. So we'll have to see. When is he expected to come back? Week 5, week 6?
Yeah, they were hoping week 5, and you're right, because hamstring injuries are really bad for speed receivers because you lose speed when you have a hurt hamstring. So even if he comes back, his hamstring's going to slow him down.
If I had Cooper Kupp right now, I would try to sell him high. Find a Rams player that's going to overvalue him. I mean, a Rams fan that's going to overvalue him, or find somebody that needs receiver depth and would be excited about having Cooper Kupp back at week 5, week 6. But with the injury that he has, I don't trust the process with him coming back. It's just too much risk. I need somebody who's going to stay healthy and consistent throughout the fantasy season rather than lead the Rams to a NFC championship. So that's my opinion on the Rams. Kyren Williams is the only player I like when it comes to fantasy players with the Rams. But as a team as a whole, I think they're going to get 3rd place in the NFC West. So I don't see a lot of upside between the Rams.
Look, all this Rams talk is super cute, but let's address the elephant in the room. I think Joe Burrow and the Bengals struggles are going to continue. I'd like to see him get over that hill, especially because I own Joe Burrow in a couple of leagues. But the Rams defense is really good, and I don't know what's going on there, but things are not clicking in Cincinnati. And I mean, that's a team that was arguably the most valuable team in terms of like fantasy players. T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, the list goes on, but the fact is they're just not producing like anywhere at the moment. So I'm really concerned about them already, and I think it's going to get worse after this week.
I'm terrified of the Bengals. I think Joe Burrow's hurt pretty bad. He didn't play all preseason. He came out during the regular season, and he's not playing well. And I think he's worried he's going to tear his ACL like Aaron Rodgers, and I don't think he's playing well at all. And like it'd be nice to go, grab Jamar Chase, as a buy low target, but I don't know if Joe Burrow is going to. I mean, I don't know how long it's take for him to get healthy.
Yeah, I don't know. Big shocker with the Bengals for sure. And I'm glad I passed up on Bengal players during the draft. I had number 4 position to draft Jamar Chase, and I took Travis Kelce. A lot of people think that's a big mistake, but Travis Kelce almost has more points than Jamar Chase in the first 2 weeks, and he's only played 1 game. So, but yeah, Joe Burrow, I think Joe Cool just needs to take another week off, recover. If he needs the second week, take that second week off, and then come back and be that quarterback he was last year for the Bengals. I'm not worried about the Bengals. They should be good after these next couple weeks. Just have Jake Browning come back or come in and fill in for Joe Burrow. And I don't see the Browns being amazing this year. I don't see the Steelers being amazing. So if the Bengals can just get second place in the AFC North behind Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, I think they should just stay hopeful and make sure that they're taking care of that quarterback rather than rushing him out there onto the field.
Joe Mixon, he's a good start. So
Yep. I like Joe Mixon today. Joe Mixon's a good start. If you have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, maybe flex player. If you have a better player to start than T. Higgins or Jamar Chase, I'd probably bench them if I have the depth.
I mean, T. Higgins is currently outproducing Jamar Chase. I think the thing is, like, everybody on that team should be a lock to start every week. But at this point, like, I don't even know if I'd be confident starting Joe Burrow, who should be like the most no-brainer lock on the team.
yeah, I wouldn't start Joe Burrow. Yeah.
Well, he's not expected to play anyways, so I would count him as out either way. You know, if he plays, leave him on your bench. If he doesn't, good for the Bengals. But I had the option of starting Joe Burrow or Brock Purdy, and I took Brock Purdy on Thursday night. It is a bonus point kind of league for quarterbacks, but I came out on top with Purdy scoring 27 points. But the thing is, I was just worried that Burrow wasn't going to produce again, and I was worried that, with him being questionable, if he was going to start or not for Monday night. But I took that risk.
This happens every year when it comes to injuries, but I just feel like there's a lot of injuries this year. But I do want to pay respects to the players that are playing through injuries just so we can enjoy fantasy football. Like DeAndre Hopkins wasn't supposed to play last week, and Amon-Ra St. Brown's beat up, and Puka Nacua, and Amari Cooper wasn't supposed to play, and all these players that are hurt, they're still going out there and playing. I think Joe Burrow has been playing hurt this whole season already. And so I just want to say thank you to all the players for going out there and playing hurt for us. I like to think that they're doing it for our fantasy football team sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins wasn't even supposed to play today, so great to see him out there. And, yeah, I mean, glad to see these guys are healthy and, getting out there. I mean, it's good for us, but more importantly, it's just good for the game of football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, I mean, we played Pop Warner football, and it's hard to play injured, man. These guys are playing NFL, so I just appreciate them playing. So, but, yeah, I mean, I kind of feel bad we're just talking about how everyone's injured, but that's the game. So, all right, well, do you guys have anything else, or should we wrap this up?
Yeah,
let's wrap it up. I gotta go going.
Yeah, I think we're like perfect time in here.
All right, guys. Good luck to your teams.
Best of luck, gentlemen.
Good luck. Bang Bus out.